Anyway, as a friend I know who has a sister who went to school with someone who recently killed his ex-girlfriend or his current girlfriend. I can't remember what the situation is. But yeah, crazy. He used to work for the company I used to work for, which is also crazy. It's Kyrie. Yes, if you don't know me, get to know me. What's up, YouTube? What's up, Kyrie crew? What's up? I don't know who else is out there. Whoever else is out there, people. What is up, the community? Now, guys, today is a Sunday. Today is a Sunday, so it's a non-music reaction. I really want to try freestyle, different type of content, all sorts of content. I'm acting so weird. But yeah, all just different type of content that's not music related. So, guys, we are reacting to the 10 creepiest serial killers ever. Now, this... hopefully, actually, you have seen my latest community post. This reaction is going to come out like a week later because I'm recording this a week in advance. But anyway, hopefully you have seen my latest reaction. Community post is what I mean to say about the judge's reaction. Christian Perez, Lauren Lake, Judge Judy, if I ever was going to do it, there will be no more content of that. I obviously apologize for what I've said. I'm not obviously trying to promote any form of degrading, disrespect, generalization, or insulting on this channel. This is not who we are, Kyber Crew. So I said my piece on it, like in the community post. I've said like... I said some things in the reaction where I've stated that this is not what all Americans are like. However, you know what I mean? It still didn't really get a good approach from people viewing it and stuff like that. So the reactions have been taken away. There will be no further reactions of that. Also, it's had a negative effect on the channel as well. And that's not what we want. So we don't need to be promoting that. And that's not what I exude. Exude? Is that the right English term? That's not who I am as a person. So I'm sorry. I apologize. Let's get into this, people, though. I want to see what the 10 creepiest serial killers are like. I want to see how creepy this world is. Guys, if you want to go into a bit more deeper stuff with serial killers, I do documentaries now launched on Patreon. Over here, starting from $5 a month. Apologies, take that back. Starting from $2 a month, but you can go up to the second tier, which is $5, where I will be releasing them on there. So if you want to like watch documentaries with me, then join the Patreon, people. You know what I mean? Let's get into this. Let's see what this is saying.
Number 10.
Number
the Corpse
10,
Collector.
right. The Corpse
A Russian
Collector?
historian was caught after robbing the graves of...
Sorry, Russian historian. I gotta stop talking.
Caught after robbing the graves of 29 young girls and then taking their corpses home, where he turned the bodies into dolls.
Oh my...
Anatoly Moskvin, 53, also expressed no remorse about his activities.
Oh God, no remorse? He didn't care? Oh, this was like a fetish for him.
To the parents of the deceased girls, claiming, "You left them in the cold. I took them home to keep them warm." The mummified remains of the girls were covered...
is he a serial killer? Would you classify it as a serial killer? Because they're technically dead. So he hasn't actually killed them. Is he a serial... I wouldn't classify him as a serial killer. Jesus.
Apologized to the parents of the deceased girls, claiming, "You left them in the cold. I took them home to keep them warm."
Why?
The mummified remains of the girls were covered in masks, and he dressed them and applied makeup to them as well. One of the stranger aspects of this case, and there are obviously many, Moskvin actually shared his home with his parents. His parents told authorities they had absolutely no idea that he was collecting bodies and turning them into giant dolls. They just thought the large dolls were part of an unusual hobby. During the days of the Soviet Union, Moskvin worked as a translator for military intelligence.
Yeah.
He went on after the collapse of the Soviet Union to write history books. He had a deep comprehension of biology and apparently of cemeteries. Over the years, he dug up many corpses, brought them home, dressed them in clothing, and kept them preserved in his own house. He even celebrated their birthdays with macabre parties.
Wait, how do you know when their birthdays were? Oh... It was say on a gravestone, for goodness sake. Dumb question. Dumb question.
The Corpse Collector was captured in 2011 when he confessed to 44 counts of abusing graves. He was moved to a mental institution, and as recently as 2020, there were discussions of releasing him as his schizophrenia was reportedly cured. The judge in the case overturned the appeal, and he remains in custody. Number 9.
Wait. Pause. That's a fetish. I don't really think that falls under serial killer. It goes 10 creepiest serial killers. They're technically dead. I would classify that as a fetish. They said it's like to do with schizophrenia, like his mind, but still, that's crazy. He dug them up, bro. At least he didn't harm anyone. You know what I mean? At least he didn't harm anyone.
Soapy killer. The Italian serial in custody.
Number 9.
Number 9. the soapy killer. The Italian serial killer Leonardo Cianciulli was born in 1894.
The soapy killer?
She got
Okay.
married in the 1930s, opened up a little shop in the small town of Correggio, and started selling soap. Leonardo's shop may have been doing all right, but the rest of her life at the time was filled with strife. She served a short jail sentence for committing
rhyme.
fraud. Her home was destroyed in an earthquake,
Damn.
and she was constantly battling with her parents about her marriage, which they didn't approve of.
Damn.
Not only that, but Leonardo was experiencing major fertility issues. She'd been pregnant 17 times, but of the 17 children, 3 died due to miscarriage, and 10 died during early childhood.
17! And most of them died.
She became incredibly superstitious about her children, and also became more deeply interested in fortune-telling, palm reading, and tarot, a childhood
Fair.
interest of hers. It was during a meeting with another fortune teller who predicted her remaining 4 children would also die that she was told that the only way to prevent her still living children from dying was to start sacrificing people. Leonardo was frightened, but she didn't start the human sacrifices right away.
Oh.
However, in 1939, her son told her he was joining the military. This pushed Leonardo into action, and she began luring women back to her soap shop and killing them in an effort to keep her surviving children
Yo.
safe. How did she kill these women, and what did she do with them? That's the true horror of it.
Is it?
She first tricked the women into going into her shop by promising to tell their fortune or offering to help them find whatever they were looking for, including telling one victim she could help them find a husband.
Oh, wow.
She drugged her victims with spiked wine. Then she killed each woman with an axe and boiled their body in caustic soda. She then used her victims' flesh and fat to make soap that she sold in her store. She gave these bars of soap to her neighbors, her friends, and anyone who would pay for them. She also used some of her victims' fat to make cakes, which she ate. But her killing spree ended after just the 3rd victim.
No.
A witness saw-
Yo, pause. Listen, no. She's not a killer, she's a cannibal. Nah, there's one thing to not be interested. My bad, take a step back. What am I trying to say? There's one thing to be killing people, yeah? You're insane for doing that. To be eating them is a different... Like, I know they're saying, oh, but she took the fat. Still, that's part of their flesh, bro. She basically ate them. And she turned them into an object to sell to other people? Bro, that's something different. That's now you're thinking psychotically. That's a word? Psychotically? I don't know. What? After the 3rd victim, luckily there was 3. Luckily there was only 3.
But her killing spree ended after just the 3rd victim. A witness saw the victim going into her soap shop and then never coming out. When
Nice.
police went to investigate, she confessed everything and was arrested. Number 8.
Because she believed in a fortune. She believed in that fortune. She had to make her kids stay alive. Crazy. That's how she saw it. She was like, my kids had to stay alive. This fortune teller told me, damn, I've had too much bad luck. Damn. Eating them. Nah, she's a
Food for
cannibal.
workers. In the United States and was arrested. Number 8. Food for workers. In the United Arab Emirates, a Moroccan woman went seriously off the deep end. Back in 2018, she suffered a fit of insanity in which she killed her boyfriend of 7 years and then cooked him. According to a report from the BBC, her boyfriend had been planning on leaving her. He was actually planning to marry a different woman from Morocco, and this naturally upset the unnamed killer. Feeling like a thrown-away piece of trash, she murdered her boyfriend, cut him into pieces, ground up his flesh in a blender, and turned him into a traditional Moroccan dish with rice and vegetables. She then took the dish to some nearby Pakistani construction workers and watched them eat it. This part of the killing goes beyond unwarranted.
That's crazy, yo.
Construction workers were made to eat a person without their knowledge and
Innit?
were likely completely horrified. Why she went to this extent of horror is beyond understanding.
Yeah.
It was the murdered boyfriend's brother who ended up solving the case. When he went looking for his missing sibling, he found a single tooth sitting in a blender in the woman's house. He phoned the police, DNA tests confirmed the tooth belonged to the victim, and she broke down and confessed. Last we heard, she was sent to a mental hospital.
I don't know if that's like mentally crazy, but what the hell? Yo, girls! Like, I get the relationship thing, but damn. Obviously, again, not generalizing. I'm just saying, yo, like, damn. There's some women, bro. Some women, not all women, don't manipulate my words. Some women, man, they think getting back at a man this is a level of equal. They think if a man cheats on you, the level to get back at him, some women think like it has to be 10 times more. But that is too extreme. You have to kill him, blend him up. First of all, why? Listen, if you kill him, you kill him. The killing is not the issue, people. Even though that's a crazy thing, and even though killings are like people doing that's wild. The killing's not the issue. It's the after thing that they do. It's the whole aftermath. You don't just kill them. She chopped him up and blended the guy. Then gave him to other people for them to eat him. Obviously, the other people weren't aware. But who thinks like that? Like, that's not getting back at someone. Maybe that is psychotic. Maybe she does need to go to a mental hospital. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
Last
she needs
we
to go to a
heard,
mental hospital.
She was sent to a mental hospital.
God damn.
Number 7. Ed Gein's furniture of horror. When it comes to killers who made a career out of crafting things from the remains of their victims, Ed Gein holds the title of most creative.
No.
When the authorities raided Ed's house back in the 1950s, they found so much horror that it's hard to even describe. Ed had a fascination with decapitation, necrophilia, and arts and crafts. He started out as a fairly ordinary resident of Plainfield, Wisconsin, but when his mother died, he really went off the rails.
Oh, wow.
He had been oddly obsessed with his mother and didn't seem able to process the fact that she was gone.
Oh, man.
In the mid-1950s, when Ed was alone and confused, residents of Plainfield began going missing. By 1957, the police had linked Ed to both Mary Hogan and Bernice Worden, both of whom had vanished. When the police went into Ed's house, they found suits, lampshades, and chairs made from human skin, masks made from people's faces, a belt crafted of human nipples, and several human organs stuffed into jars. Not only had Ed been killing multiple local women, he had also been digging up graves at the nearby cemetery, using the bodies of the recently deceased in his arts and crafts experiments. The man who was credited as being the inspiration for the killer Buffalo Bill in the movie Silence of the Lambs was later found guilty of murder and criminally insane. He died in captivity in 1984. Number 6.
Oh my
Old
God.
Lady Killer.
How the hell do you want me to comment on that? What? This is wild. It's just the mindset for people to think like this. I am gobsmacked.
Captivity in 1984.
What?
Number 6. Old Lady Killer.
Who the hell is number 1 then? Because that seems like the worst one.
In 1984. Number 6. Old Lady Killer. Ed Gein may have been one of the most notorious serial murderers, but Juana Barraza Samperio is a criminal mastermind.
Damn.
She is currently spending the rest of her days locked up in the Santa Marta de Acatitla prison in Mexico. The reason for her incarceration? She killed at least 48 people. She's known as the Little Old Lady Killer. When still living on the outside, she spent her days selling popcorn and occasionally fighting in wrestling matches. The rest of her time, she was hunting and killing elderly women. According to the Mexican authorities, Juana killed nearly 50 people in Mexico City between the 1990s and January 25th, 2006.
Jeez.
She only got caught when a neighbor witnessed her leaving the scene of a crime. Although the cops couldn't get evidence for every murder, they did manage to pin her in 17 of them. These 17 murders alone earned her 759 years in jail.
Oh my
During her
God.
trial, it came out...
Mexico don't play, innit? Now you'll go to jail for thousands of years. I don't care, man.
Earned her 759 years in jail. During her trial, it came out that Juana was a psychopath incapable of feeling remorse. She actually thought she was helping society by getting rid of elderly women, likely because of the trauma she experienced in her own childhood.
Oh.
When Juana was just a young girl, her mother would trade her to dangerous men for things like beer and cash. When she grew up, she took that hate of her mother and transformed it into something evil, lashing out at older women, perhaps because they reminded her of her mother.
The logic makes sense, you know what I mean? If you're traumatized when you're younger to be what you are in that situation, obviously what she's doing is not justified, but you get the understanding and you can understand why she's acting like that. Fair.
And now for a serial killer Santa. But first, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We have more true crime coming soon.
Number 5. Check this out, bro. I'm gonna have to check this out, bro. I'm gonna have to look into a little bit more. That's crazy. Mexico don't play, man. I was gonna say something. There was something that's crossed my mind about this girl. Oh, something that crossed my mind. Oh, okay, that's it. That's what I was gonna say. Don't you find it weird that 9 times out of 10, this is probably 9 times out of 10, a lot of serial killers, they tend to get caught because they just do something a bit sloppy. Like the lady who obviously turned people into soap. Someone just watched this other lady she brought in go into the shop, and then she never came out. Another person witnessed this girl running away from the scene. Like with the Jeffrey Dahmer, a victim luckily, obviously this is different, no one didn't see it, but a victim obviously luckily escaped and obviously was able to like go to the cops. You get what I'm saying? I'm trying to think of anyone. I don't know about the Ted Bundy one, but a lot of the times, 9 times out of 10, sometimes, obviously the Jeffrey Dahmer is different, but sometimes a lot of serial killers just get caught because they're just a little bit sloppy and someone just notices them or just sees them. They have a witness. 9 times out of 10, that's the case. If they don't have that, they could be going on for the rest of their lives just doing it. Do you know how crazy that is? Like, no one would ever catch them. Flip it.
You haven't already. We have more true crime coming soon. Number 5. Serial killing Santa. Bruce MacArthur was seen on the outside as a happy man. Those that knew him described him as outgoing, friendly, and even jovial. He had white hair, a white beard, and played the perfect Santa Claus at the Agincourt Mall in Toronto as recently as 2016. He was a 66-year-old landscaper who posed as Santa during the holidays, and it seemed that he loved children. What no one knew was that Bruce had a bizarre attraction to the dead. Not only did he have an obsession with dead bodies, but he was also a serial killer. As a landscaper, Bruce used his cover to bury the bodies of his victims in his customers' gardens. While his clients thought he was simply creating beautiful landscapes, he was actually turning them into secret graveyards. Between 2010 and 2017, Bruce MacArthur murdered 8 men that we know of. His targets were the homeless, the destitute, and immigrants in the predominantly gay neighborhood of Church and Wellesley. Bruce's method of killing is what will really give you chills.
Okay.
Strangulation was his preferred method. He would wrap a rope around his victim's throat, then use a metal bar to tighten the ligature. Once his victim had stopped breathing, Bruce would then do a photo shoot. He would dress up his victims in things like fur coats, sometimes positioning them as if still alive, with one victim even photographed with a cigar hanging out of his mouth. When Bruce was finally caught by the police, authorities in Toronto had to check out 75 properties in search of remains. Bruce had concealed many victims in the planters and gardens he had worked on as a landscaper.
Oh my God.
How do you think you'd react if the police told you they needed to inspect your yard for human remains?
Yeah.
Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content.
I see it as a fetish. Way he dressed them up, you know what I mean, while they were like dead. That's a fetish, bro. That's disgusting.
Number 4.
Man.
The torso murders. From 1935 to 1938, between 12 and 13 bodies were found dumped in Cleveland's Kingsbury Run. The area is a creek bed that runs through the city down to the Cuyahoga River. The victims included at least 7 men and 5 women, most of whom were unhoused or sex workers. These unfortunate people were living far below the poverty line in the days when Cleveland was still suffering from the impacts of the Great Depression. Most of the individuals weren't reported missing for months after their disappearances, sometimes not even until their bodies were found. What makes these murders especially disturbing was the fact that every single body was found without a head or limbs. The only parts of the remains that turned up were the torsos of the victims. After over 80 years, this is still the most gruesome crime spree in the history of Cleveland.
Is it?
The
80
killer is
years?
known today as the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run, and believe it or not, he or she has never been identified by
Wow.
the police. The
Wow.
killings only stopped when the killer presumably lost interest, moved, or died. Even years after the torsos stopped turning up, authorities still were unable to locate all the heads. To this
Wow.
day, no one knows what the Mad Butcher did with the heads and the limbs of their victims.
A couple of people like that. You got the Zodiac Killer that was on Netflix. Highly recommend go watch that, people. You got the Zodiac Killer. That's one. There was another one. I'm trying to think if there is another one. Or was it the Zodiac Killer? Is what I'm thinking of. I think it was the Zodiac Killer. I think it was. I think what I'm trying to think of is Zodiac Killer. Crazy though. Not been caught. Most likely just died. The person is probably dead, innit? If it's 1930s, the person probably just died, basically. Jesus, man. Oh.
What the Mad Butcher did with the heads and the limbs of their victims. Number 3. The Bone Collector. In Mexico, authorities recently discovered approximately 3,787 bone fragments
God.
that they say belong to at least 17 different murder victims.
Oh my God.
The killer in this story was a bone collector. He had a fascination with killing and dismembering. The Mexican authorities have not been able to release his identity, but they do say that by the time they caught up to him, he was 72 years old.
Wow.
The cops actually arrested this serial murderer in connection with the killing of a 34-year-old woman, whom he reportedly cut up with a hacksaw. It was when they began looking at his home that they discovered the true scope of his crimes. During careful excavations, the police found the bones and bone fragments, as well as 91 photographs, 8 cell phones, a bucket full of women's jewelry, and actual videotape of the man murdering his victims. He had been dismembering his victims, cutting them up so small that he had pieces of them hidden all throughout his house. The police were shocked and horrified when they realized the extent of the crime scene. As of right now, the police are still trying to extract DNA from the bone fragments to identify the victims, many of which are probably missing people. In the meantime, the identity of this prolific serial murderer has still not been released. Number 2.
How does a human being, like, it just fascinates me how a human being has the capacity within their mind to be like, I'm here chopping up other human beings and I'm gonna film it. They all love taking pictures, innit? They all love taking pictures. What's up with taking pictures? Why do you need to take pictures of this stuff? But it's the concept of actually physically chopping up someone. My brain can't compute why would another person want to do that. That's crazy.
Human burgers. Joe Metheny,
Human
much
burgers?
like Number 2. Human burgers.
Oh my God.
Joe Metheny, much like Jeffrey Dahmer and John
look
Wayne
at that.
Gacy.
Hey, look at that. I want to watch the joint. I'm going to see if I can react to the John Wayne Gacy, documentary. There's one of those on Netflix. He died through in lethal injection, lethal injection. Yeah, I think so. That's what got mentioned in the Jeffrey Dahmer TV series. I need to watch it though. Crazy, but funny how I mentioned Jeffrey Dahmer when I said it
Joe
earlier.
Metheny, much like Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy, was a truly gruesome killer. But for some strange reason, despite the horror of his crimes, he is not as well known. If you're one of those people who haven't heard of him, get ready to be shocked.
Jesus.
Joe was arrested in Baltimore back in December of 1996. At the time, police knew he was responsible for at least 3 murders. But after he was convicted of these murders, he finally spilled the beans that he killed at least 10 people. He also admitted that he was a cannibal and that he served his victims to unsuspecting patrons of his burger stand.
God.
He would take the meat from people he killed and mix it with pork or beef, or simply use it as it was. And shockingly enough, Joe told the authorities that not a single person could seem to taste the difference between regular burgers and those made with his victims.
Oh my
Joe was
God.
given several life sentences to be served continuously and without the possibility of parole. Since his arrest, however, he has repeatedly begged for the death sentence. In an interview, Joe told the press that the only thing he regrets about his killing spree is that he was caught before he had the opportunity to kill the 2 people he really wanted, his ex-girlfriend, and the guy she replaced him with. Number 1.
There's someone I know who knows another person, a friend of a friend. This just reminds me of it. When he said about ex-girlfriend and obviously the person that she's with, reminds me of a friend that I know who basically, I think it's their sister, who went to school with a recent serial killer. This got announced probably about like 2-3 months ago. No, way further back than that. 5-6 months ago. Yeah, about 5-6 months ago. That was what is it? No, because it must have been during winter period. So it must have been like 3-4 months ago. Anyway, as a friend I know who has a sister who went to school with someone who recently killed his ex-girlfriend or his current girlfriend. I can't remember what the situation is. But yeah, crazy. He used to work for the company I used to work for. Which is also crazy, which is why I know like the situation. But they were like saying, he just got caught. It came out to find out like he killed his girlfriend during like, I don't know what was the cause of the death, but it's crazy people. Some serial killers, man, you might know. Sometimes it's just a friend of a friend, a sister, a relative. You might know them. But it just blew me away. That ex-girlfriend just reminded me of it. And that wasn't too long ago. The reason why I want to mention it is only because it was like 3 months ago.
His ex-girlfriend and the guy she replaced him with.
Crazy.
Number 1. Boyfriend Stu.
Actually, who is number 1? You think eating people is the worst? You think eating people is worse than that Ed guy who obviously creates people like as chairs and like lamps? You think eating people is the worst? All right, fair. Let's see what number 1 is.
Number 1. Boyfriend Stu. Catherine Knight killed her boyfriend and then turned him into a stew. For this bizarre crime, she became the first Australian woman to receive a life sentence without parole.
Wow.
The terrible murder came after a lifetime of toxic relationships. Catherine's life and relationships were plagued with abuse, violence, and frightening fits of temper. In 1995, she moved in with John Price, the man who she would eventually murder. According to friends and family, she had wanted to marry him, but John declined. When he refused to get married, Catherine turned violent. In 2000, the pair argued, and Catherine tried to stab him in the chest. Price had to get a restraining order against her, but they later reconciled. Price, however, would not let Knight move back into the home in order to protect his 2 older children. On February 29, 2000, she let herself into John's house, seduced him in the middle of the night, and once he was asleep, she stabbed him 37 times. Catherine then went downstairs, dragging his body behind her. She hung him from a meat hook in the living room, one of the tools of her trade as a butcher, removed his head, then cooked up a meal using his body, along with potato and pumpkin, some squash, and a bit of gravy that she intended to later serve to John's children. After Catherine finished cooking her lover, she took John's headless body and lay down with it in bed. She swallowed a whole bunch of pills and fell asleep. When the police arrived the next morning at the behest of John's co-workers, who were worried because he didn't show up to work, they found Catherine covered in blood, John's body, and the remnants of her macabre meal. She claimed to have no memory of what she had done, but was charged and convicted of murder nonetheless. Thanks for watching. Everybody be careful out there. You never know where a killer might be lurking. Be sure to subscribe and come back soon for more amazing true crime.
Literally, as I stated, someone I know who's a friend, sister, went to school with someone that they literally grew up with. And as I said 3-4 months ago, that person literally killed his girlfriend. You never know. You never know. That's crazy. That girl's crazy. That girl is crazy. This is just like, as I said, what blows my mind, what kind of shocks me is like the killing. You can kind of understand the logic when you tie up the insanity of how crazy they are. All right, cool, they did something crazy here. Or you can kind of see where the root cause is. Like one of those girls who basically said she killed old women, the old lady killer, you know what I mean? Like she basically said like she had a terrible like growing up with her mother. Maybe that was the cause of why she dislikes older people. You get what I'm saying? There's something that can like trail the insanity. You're like, you know what, that makes sense why they're crazy. I get that. But to go and cook someone, to go further beyond, to like serve it to like other human beings that are unaware, to eat it yourself. What? Like, what? Are you even human? Like, what normal, sane person thinks like that? of course, they're not sane. Most of them obviously gone to like a mental hospital or well, I don't know, what psychiatric, I don't know, psychiatric. There you go, sort of mental hospital. Because what the hell? Why does everyone have to? I think probably 4 of them, maybe 5 of these people here, cook their victims and serve them to other people. What are you doing? Oh, bro, it's crazy. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are on this. If you kind of like stuff like this, I don't mind diving into things like this. I'm just trying to do different kind of content, which doesn't affect the whole like copyright or copy strike issue. That's what I've currently got at the moment, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it goes away in due time. But yeah, I'm just hoping like as time goes on, you guys kind of like stuff like this, you know what I mean? And you're interested in like weird stuff like this. But do let me know in the comments. I'm not sure how well this is going to do. If this doesn't go well as time goes on, I mentioned this in my community post a week ago. But if this, actually, to be fair, this is coming out this week. So a few days ago. I did mention about I was going to record this a week after and all this stuff. Whatever, anyway. I messed up there. This should be out in the next few days, basically. I messed up there. But yeah, guys, if you like stuff like this, let me know. Let me know, people. Because it'd be nice to kind of get into like the whole like serial killer stuff. Because I find it quite interesting. But if you want me to react to particular documentaries, if you want me to go into diving into more documentaries and more information about particular serial killers, guys, I'm doing that currently on Patreon. My Patreon starts from $2 a month, but it's $5 for the next tier up for those type of obviously reactions. If you do want to be a part of it, it's up to you. It's whether you want to push that gratitude a little bit more forward. But as I always preach, do subscribe, hit that notification button. I believe, and I could probably say it, we are on 18,000 subscribers, people. Yes! 18K, so we're looking to get to 20K by like March or April time. So do subscribe, hit that notification button if you want to reach 20,000 subscribers. 20,000, that's quite nice to say, 20K, yeah? But yeah, socials are above, link in the description. Peace.